Let's be honest, you have most probably written at least one code base that is not scalable. What is scalable code? Well, if you are going to take a look at your code after a while and you cannot find things in your code, or if you do want to append some code to your existing code base and you don't really know how to do that, well, that is not scalable. So today I'm going to teach you how to write scalable code in SwiftUI with Combine and MVVM. So, Alex here from Rebeloper.com. Let's just open up Xcode and dive in. Learning how to write scalable code is an essential skill in your portfolio. So whenever I get these 60 minutes dev calls that are about refactoring your code or just giving some tips on your project, most importantly what I see is that your codes are not scalable. So today I'm going to show you how to write scalable code in SwiftUI. By the way, if you are looking for a mentor, you want to somebody to take a look at your code, or you are stuck with your code, or actually you do want to learn SwiftUI, go ahead and check out the Dev Factory, where you can meet with me on a 1 hour one-on-one Zoom call. It's at rebeloper.com/mentoring. Go ahead and check that out. So let's take a look at today's topic, and that is scalable code in SwiftUI. We are going to tackle also Combine and MVVM. So really good stuff for today. So what I will build out today is actually an app that is like showing us random funny names. So let's just start off with a brand new Xcode project. So let's click on next while selecting app. Okay, there it is. Let's click on next. Let's drop it somewhere here, like code. Let's create that. And let's create a Git repository, because you can find all of the resources in the link in the description for all the YouTube channel code and whatnot. And as you can see, you will see in just a second, you will have some resources to drag and drop into this brand new Xcode project. So let's create that. And it is called Scalable SwiftUI, really nice. Let's make some space here, and let's start off by having the resources, and that is a mock API. Yeah, because usually you will work with APIs, and I have created here a mock API, which, what does it do? Well, it gets a random name, and usually it gets a random name from this lorem ipsum random name. Go ahead and check out this struct that I have created. It has a lot of random names right over here, and it gets us random names if this random int is more than 4, and if it's not, occasionally it will just give us back some error just to imitate a mock API. So that's our resource that we are adding here, and let's start off by writing some code in the content view. And this is kind of the wrong way of doing it. Well, not wrong, it's an unscalable way of doing it, and this is most probably what you see on YouTube videos like not like these ones, but YouTube videos that explain SwiftUI, well, the basics of SwiftUI. And today you are going to learn a lot more. So usually you are going to see something like this. Again, this is the not scalable part. Go ahead and check out also the scalable part. You will see the chapters right over here somewhere. Okay, so let's see what we want to do here. Well, let's add in here a VStack. And in that VStack, we just going to add a button here. So that button will have an action and a label. And the label, let's on the text, let's just add in here. And for the action, we want to create a getRandomName function, because yeah, also this is an extra tip here. You don't want to add your calls right in here on this action. You want to separate them so you can take a look at them later on. And let me just add in here. That's our function. And now you will see that you can take a look at them. The body, it would shield all of that code into that one body variable. So let's just go and add it here, get a random name. And to get the random name and print it out, well, not print it out, just display it on the screen, you would just usually have a text here as an example. And let's see, random name. And here we would just add in a state variable. So let's create that state variable, private state, and that is name. And by default, that would be an empty string, for example. And now we can just add that in there. It will be whenever the name changes, the text will be updated. And yeah, let's get our random name right over here. Why not? So we just go mock API and dot get a random name. As you can see, we are having a completion here, which is returning a result type, meaning the success value is a string, the failure value is an error. So here we have our result. We would just go switch result. And because I'm lazy to type all of that out, I usually just wait for the fix. I just drop it in there, and there it is. And right over here, we have a name coming back, name. And on the failure, we are getting an error coming back. So yeah, you could just grab this error and show it in an alert. I'm not going to go through that at the moment. I'm just going to print out the errors. And I did create something called a mock API error message that is just a custom errors description. So what I'm going to print out is that right over here. And while we got our name, we just go self.name. So we get that state variable equals name, that string. And that would be it. Let's just select one of our simulators here, build and run, and we are done with the tutorial. No, we are not done. Basically, this is how you would just basically do it. You just create these functions right over there and you get your random name. Let me just see here. So you can see the first fetch is something went wrong, so we got our error. So let's tap on it again. There we go, genocide, berry wine. Well, that was a weird name, berry wine, my Adidas pizzeria. Okay, so those are the really funny names, and sometimes, occasionally, you get an error back and it will just print out something went wrong. This is kind of what you would get from an API anyway. So that's the basic thing, but this is actually not scalable. So let me just type this out here, like this is not scalable. This isn't actually scalable. And let me just add in there an emoji also, because this is not actually the way you want to build this out. So let's start building out a scalable architecture for our app with MVVM and combine. So let's just stop this. And what do we want to do? Well, first of all, let's create a new view. So you can take a look at this and compare it to the new way of doing it. Let's just call this profile view. So I will just create a new file here, and it will be a SwiftUI view next and profile view. Okay, let's create that. Really, really nice. Okay, so that profile view will have kind of the same thing. So I will just copy out some stuff. For example, our VStack. Let me just go in there. Yes, and by the way, copy and pasting is kind of good if you do know what you are doing. And then we do need our function, but not the actual contents of that function, because yes, we are going to move that away into, and you most probably guessed it, into a view model. So that's why we are also not going to have in here that state variable. So what we want to do for the profile view is to create a view model. So let's just go ahead and create again a new file. And let's see, well, before the view model, because we are going to use the model inside the view model, let's create our model first. And that would be, well, I already have in here some predefined templates, so let's just go with that. So profile, and that would be our profile. And yeah, let me just delete what we don't really need. So you shouldn't be handling the data that you are getting from your mock API as strings or booleans and all of that stuff. You should be creating a model for them that will be used throughout your app. And yeah, that is what this profile is. It has to be codable and identifiable. You will take a look at why in just a second, why it is why it has to be codable. Usually JSON files you are getting, they are going to be added into a codable model. But here we have identifiable. That is because of SwiftUI. We do need to be able to have these models inside the list, like these objects from these models inside the list. So that is why I already have it as identifiable. Otherwise, we just need a name here, and that will be of type string. And that is it. Okay, so next up, we want to have a view model. So let's create a new file again. And I will use my templates also, page view. Well, I'm going to use the simple view model. Let's just go profile. Well, these are just really cool shortcuts. Well, actually, it seems like this will not work. So let's just create a new Swift file from scratch. Okay, so there we have it. We want to add in here combine and SwiftUI. And let's create our class, and that will be named profile view model. There we go. And this is an observable object. Okay, so what we want to do here, and if you don't really know how to create these view models, go ahead and check out the video on my channel about MVVM and SwiftUI. What we need here is to have a published variable that can be used on the view. So let's create a published var and profile. Okay, we are going to have a type of profile, and this has to have a default value. So I just start typing out profile in open parentheses, and as you can see, we have an ID and a name. Well, this doesn't look good for the default value. Let me just go ahead and comment this out and append some new stuff on the profile. Let's create an initializer for this. So init. And there we go. And here we are going to add in here our name. And let me just make this an optional string and give it the default value of nil. That is because the default values should be just profile and open and close parentheses. I shouldn't be worried about adding default values to the profile. So here I just go self.name. I'm giving the value to, I'm transferring the value to the property. I'm just having self.name equals name, but that's optional. So let's just give it a default value of empty string. And there it is. So now if I go back right over here, uncomment this and just go profile, open parentheses, now you know, now you can see that we have this option of having a really easily initialized profile with default values. Next up, because we are going to use combine, we need some cancellables. So let's create them. And usually you should have them as private. So private var, cancellables, and this is a set of any cancellables. So let's just go set and any cancelable. There we go. And by default, this is an empty array. So we are all set with the properties. Now it's time to actually create our function here. And let's just go func get random name. And let's just create this function. So what should this get random name do? Well, first of all, where are we going to trigger it? Well, let's take a look at the profile view, and it's right over here. So when we tap on the button, so we just go, first of all, let's create our view model right over here. So I do have these code snippets just for making these tutorials really, really fast, and that is profile view model also to work really fast. So we are getting this view model dot, and get random name. But that is not that good, because what if we have an error? So let's refactor that function and let's have a completion here which will return an error, an optional error. So we just go completion and at escaping. And let's see, what are we going to return here? We are going to add it here like an optional error. So that is much better. Now we can go back to the profile view. And now if I type out get random name, we will see that we have a completion there and we can have an error. Okay, now if let error equals error, so we unwrap that error. So if it exists, then we want to return, because maybe on line 30 we do want to do something else. If there was an error, we don't want to do that, so we want to return. And right over here, so let's just print out here our errors. And it's a mock API error message. That's what we are going to do. You should basically definitely show an error to the user inside an alert. Okay, so that is what we need to do right over here. So let's go back to the profile view model and let's see how should we actually get our random names. And you could just argue like getting the mock API and then get random name and all of that stuff. But what if you do want to make this a generic type of API? So you want to have these fetches and requests and all of that good stuff as for more than one model. It's not just a profile, maybe it's a post or a message. So for that, we are going to actually not use the mock API right over here. We are going to create a service for that is kind of general. So let's create our mock API service, and I will just do this right over here. Of course, you could just add new folder structures, but yeah, I won't do that right now. So let's click on next. There we go. So this will be kind of the glue between your API and the view models that you are going to use throughout your app for those specific views. So what I like to do is just name them as services. So we need to import combine right over here, and this is going to be a class, and let's just name this mock API service, and no superclass here, and let's just remove this code. So what this mock API service needs to handle is all of the models that are of type codable. And I would just name them T. This is just a convention. You could just add in here anything else, but yeah, we're just going to go with that. So let's create our first and actually our only function for today here. I'm just going to call this again, get random profile. Because now, and this is, take a look at the naming, we are getting a profile. So we do know that this is the profile model. Okay, and what will this return? Well, here comes the importance of combine. We are going to return, and let me just type this out and I will explain this in just a second. Let's just have here a little bit more space. We are going to return a future. Ooh, that's interesting. We are going to return a future, and it will have a success value of T and a failure value of error. And that is it. Of course, yeah, we are not returning anything else. We will have an error. But what does this future mean? Well, in combined terms, when it's kind of a promise that in the future, we are going to get either back a T, a codable model, or we are going to get back an error. So a one-time promise. Okay, so after that, our future will either, so it will either finish, or it will either conclude with an error, or it will either give us back a value. So these three things, and you will see on the view models side how this works. For now, in this function, we are going to actually use our mock API, the API that you do want to interact with in a general way with the T. So what does this do? Well, it needs to return a future. So let's just go future. And this might be a little bit interesting to type out, but you will get the hang of it. And trust me, after you see how it looks like, you will definitely use it throughout your apps. So we just go completion in. Okay, so this is how it looks like. It's a future. And right over here on this completion, we are going to add in our API calls. And whenever the API responds back to us with a success value or an error, we are going to call this completion. And that will, we will use that to subscribe when we are subscribing to this future. You will see this coming all together in just a second. So we just go mock API dot get random name. Here we have our result. Let's just go result. Again, we just go switch result, and being lazy, we are going to wait for Xcode to fix this. There we go. And right over here, let's take a look at the error first. So let error. So right over here, we are going to complete, so completion dot failure, and we are going to pass on that error that we got from our API. Right over here, we are going to get back a name. So let name. There we go. And in this case, we do want to use this name to create a profile. So let profile equals, and now we are going to use our profile model to create a profile with that name. As you can see, this is an optional string, so we can just simply add in here name, and we are going to get an error again because this, well, yeah, basically that would be it. Now we are going to complete, and let me just show that error that I was talking about. As you can see, it needs to be a decodable, encodable, codable, and then we just add in our profile here, and here is our error. You will see it in just a second. We need to mark it as T, so we are forcing it to be codable actually, but it is. That's perfectly fine there. So there is our mock API service. So we can go back to our view model, and here we can call upon that mock API service. But what did we just create? Well, we created a future. The future meaning that it's going to give us back a value or an error. And that is what I like to call a promise. So a good promise from the API. So let promise equals, and let's just go mock API service, and I'm going to give in here the profile, so the model, the T, so our mock API knows what it needs to fetch, and then we just go get random profile, and this is our promise. Of course, it's of type future. If you take a look at it, let me just go right over here. As you can see, it's of type future, and it will return a profile or an error. It knows it needs to return a profile because I added it right over there. Okay, so what do we do with this promise? Well, we subscribe to it, and the combined way of doing it is to sync. So we just go promise dot sync. And we are going to use the one with the receive completion and the receive value. Now, under completion, we are going to get back a result. And again, that could be a finished or a failure. So we just switch through that, switch result. Let's just wait for this. Hopefully, Xcode will complain and we can fix it really quick. Now, if we are finished, that is okay. We are done. We can just go with breaking. And then on the failure, we are getting back an error. So if there was an error, we just go and complete with that error. And again, when we are completing with that error, we are going to notify the view that we have an error. Otherwise, when we receive a value, we are receiving a profile, as you can see. And what do? Well, we update the published variable profile. So the published variable will take care of updating the view. Okay, so self.profile equals profile. And we are also going to complete with nil, so our view also, so the function on the view also knows that there were no errors while we were fetching this element. Okay, so one last thing, what do we want to do? Well, you see that there's a warning there. We want to store that in the cancelables, store in set of cancelables. Okay, and basically that's it. Let's see how all of this looks now, and I hope I didn't miss any of the steps, but it should be right. Okay, so this is the old way of doing it. Again, we get the random name and there it is. Okay, so how do we take a look at the profile view? Well, we want to go right over here, comment this out, and profile view, and actually we are not going to see any new changes. We are just going to see random name, get random name. We are getting that random name. Of course, we do need to see some things here. Let's see, there is some issues here. Get random name, view model. Yes, we are not seeing it because we did not connect our text. So let's just go over here and view model dot profile dot name. And as you can see, it's much more readable, really nice. So let's hit Command R and see this one final time in action. So get random name, Holy Graham, adds up, curtain call. There we go. And let's see, yeah, there it is, our one error that is randomly generated. Really nice. So again, instead of using just a state variable for your kind of data and calling the API on the view itself, go ahead and create a model for your data, also a view model that is connected to our profile view, and everything is handled inside the view model. As you can see, the fetching of the profile, or kind of connecting the profile to our view, and then calling on different functions from our view, from the view model. Also, error handling is really nicely done here. And on the view model, because the API is going to handle a lot of stuff, make sure that you also create a mock API service, which preferably you are going to use with futures, and you are going to again use the mock API calls inside those futures. Again, done with a promise, and you subscribe to it, store it, and either you receive an error or a value, of course, with the profile, because I did set the type of our mock API service model. Okay, that is it. So now whenever a new code comes in, or a new coder after, let's say, 2 months wants to expand on this, they can easily do so. There it is. SwiftUI apps with MVVM and Combine that are scalable. Now, if you do like this teaching style that I'm working on, go ahead and check out Rebeloper.com/mentoring, where you can meet with me on a one-on-one 1-hour Zoom meeting. Go ahead and check it out, Rebeloper.com/mentoring, if you have any code issues, if you want me to review your code, or if you just want to learn SwiftUI. Now, at this point, this project kind of looks overworked. Like, we added a bunch of code that doesn't really matter that much. But trust me, I have been there, and it will pay off on the long run. It's better to write scalable code first, and then not to be sorry later. So if you do like these types of videos and you do like my teaching style, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. And while you are at it, make sure to hit that notification bell to get notified of new videos as they do come out. Videos like these ones, they are all fun videos and really knowledgeable videos about SwiftUI and Swift in general. And as usual, I will see you in the next one.